You are now locked into the Red and Blue Rivalry Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys.
My name is Eric Hernandez, and I'm repping the faithful.
And I am Philip Enriquez, and I think I'm repping for the Kansas City Chiefs this week. You know what I'm saying?
I think maybe this time, yes.
I mean, there's no blue to root for anymore.
No, it's just shades of red.
Shades of red. Red everywhere, man. So, I mean, here we are. It's Super Bowl week, man. I know you're pumped. I mean, what's the anxiety feel like right now, knowing that your team's in the big dance?
Oh, man. Last week went by quick. This week, it's dragging. I tried to will the universe for it to at least be Thursday today. Unfortunately, it's still Wednesday. And it is like every day, it's just like, let's get through work. I'm counting hours at this point. Let's get through it. Because, I mean, this is it. And I think everybody across, anybody with any kind of football sense knows that this is going to be a great game. This matches up to be a great game. Styles make fights, and this is going to be a great one. So, man, I'm anxious. I'm nervous. I'm excited. All of it.
Yeah, so let's break down the big game. The game takes place Super Bowl Sunday, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. The San Francisco 49ers go into this one with a 15-3 record. They're technically the road team.
Yes.
Okay, so Kansas City at 14-4 are the home team, and the Chiefs are favored by. It started off. They opened up as a 1-point favorite, but now they're up to a 1.5.
Yeah, I think that's what it's kind of. It's floated between those 2, 1.5 point.
And the one that I'm almost tempted to go and bet a little money on is the over/unders at 54.5.
Oh, I think it might be over.
You think so? I was thinking about hitting the under.
You really?
Yeah, I think so. I do. You would hit the over, huh?
I think you could see like what was it, 55?
54.5.
I think you could see
55, you win.
I could see 31-24.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not outside the realm of past.
That gets you there.
Or 34-31.
Yeah, I just don't see it being quite so high.
It just depends on how much Mahomes gets a shot at. We'll talk about later. But yeah, I might hit the over because I do think the Niners can score with them. Like, as far as they can put up points in their own way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, without a doubt, man. So for me, man, the first point I want to make when talking about this Super Bowl is really I'm excited for the Super Bowl. I'm excited for the matchup, but I'm really excited specifically for the matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs offense and the San Francisco 49ers defense. I think that's the key to this game.
That's the matchup.
That's like, I haven't been excited to watch a team outside of the Cowboys as much as seeing these two teams go at it in the biggest game of the year.
Two of the most talented. I mean, you got to figure the Chiefs with their speed and Mahomes versus the Niners defensive line with their defensive backs and linebackers. I mean, that's where, the game's going to be decided all over the field, but that's where everyone's eyes are going to go. What happens when Patrick Mahomes has the ball and he has to worry about D Ford, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, and Nick Bosa coming after him?
Yeah, without a doubt, man. It's going to be interesting to watch, and there's interesting matchups all over the field in this game. But in particular, what we wanted to do on this version of the podcast is go through each matchup for San Francisco and Kansas City. Let's match up and see which team we feel has the edge in this one. So one of the first things I'm looking for as far as matchups in this Super Bowl game, we're looking at the San Francisco 49ers wide receivers versus the Kansas City secondary. What are you looking at as far as that matchup goes?
It's funny because what you really want to see is as much as Kansas City is known for their speed, the Niners receivers are known for their physicality. They love to block. Kyle Shanahan has gotten these receivers to block. You have Deebo Samuel, who, you don't get that nickname for nothing.
Right.
And you have these guys buy in. So what you want to see is it revolves around the run game. Is you want to make sure they're able to get to the second level and seal off defensive backs, seal off corners, seal off safeties, just get in the way, allow the running backs to get a crease, find space, pick a lane, and go. When it comes to the passing game, I think what you're going to see is a lot of crossing routes, a lot of digs. That's Shanahan's staples, a dig route where they kind of run at the defensive back and then break in. That's where you're going to see. And their ability to, depending on what, Kansas City rolls it, if they're running cover 1, cover 3, being able to separate horizontally, not as much vertically. They're not, the Niners aren't a vertical passing team.
No,
I mean, they'll do it every once in a while because, everybody does it. But they're going to known for their wide receivers have to be able to establish their blocks at the perimeter, to seal off edges, to create lanes for the running back when they break out, and to be able to separate when they need to. And at the end of the day, that if Garoppolo puts it on you, Garoppolo is pretty accurate, but once in a while he'll throw a pass, maybe back shoulder, to be able to catch anything he throws, because you cannot put yourself behind the chains against Kansas City. You don't want to have to go 3 and out. And the ability to do that is to establish the running game with your wide receivers at the edges and run crossing routes and run digs and run posts and get separation that way.
Yeah, I think these two offenses, whether you're looking at San Francisco or whether you're looking at Kansas City, they asked their wide receivers to do these are two completely different skill sets.
Yes.
I mean, I think this is night and day.
Yes.
I think you mentioned it. You look at the Kansas City wide receivers, and it's like a damn track team.
Yes.
I mean, this is
they just want to go
speed all over the field. I mean, you're talking about go routes. You're going to be talking about deep post. I mean, they like to take it across the middle of the field deep.
Those deep
That's
overs.
what I noticed. Yeah. Those deep, I see a play like where Tyreek Hill's running like a deep post. And on the other side, Watkins or Hardman, they're running just right underneath across. Yep. And it's just putting the pressure on the middle of that defense. Deep.
Yes.
And they do that so well. And yet the San Francisco 49ers, like, those wide receivers are asked to be gritty, to get the tough yards, to make the dig routes where maybe you're catching the ball maybe 2 yards away from the line of scrimmage, but you know what? Get a couple of yards extra, break a tackle, do what needs to be done to fight for every yard. And they're asked to block in the running game.
Yes.
I mean, that's something that Kansas City really does. They don't ask them.
No.
Yeah.
And, what you look at is that, what makes a difference is more times than not, Kansas City's receivers are going to be, for the most part, either wide open or they're never in danger of a big hit from a linebacker. Whereas the Niners, wide receivers, they live in the Garoppolo's best work is in the middle of the field. The receivers have to be able to live in the middle of the field. And so what you want to be able to do for them is to create space with your running game, with your play action game, to force the linebackers in conflict, to give them a second. And I think that when I look at the matchup of the 49ers wide receivers versus the Kansas City secondary, the one X factor is going to be the Honey Badger.
Yeah.
Tyrann Mathieu he does it all for them. He's kind of the engine of that secondary. He makes it go. He can come up in the run. I think making sure that you force him to cover deep. Yeah. You cannot let him come down to the middle in the box and be like a third linebacker or an extra linebacker, because when he does that, I think that I fear more of him as a linebacker than the actual linebackers. I feel scared for him than any other member of their secondary as far as being able to make a play on Jimmy. If anybody's going to pick Jimmy Garoppolo off, it'd be the Honey Badger. Yeah. That's how I view it. But everybody else across the field, I trust in their ability to win their matchups, to create separation, and to block. What the 49ers are going to ask their wide receivers to do, I think they'll find success in doing it. Yeah. So I'd give the edge to them over Kansas City's defensive backs.
With that being said, how many times, it's a big discussion all week, so I want to ask you, how many times do you expect Jimmy G to put the ball in the air?
I think he's going to throw it more than people think. I really do. I believe that these last 2 weeks, Kyle Shanahan's like, oh, you don't think he's going to throw? I think he's going to throw. I think the reason why they didn't throw they didn't throw for two different reasons, both against Minnesota and Green Bay.
Well, they didn't have to. One.
Against Minnesota, they're like, you have Barr and you have Kendrick, and that middle of the field is very congested. Yeah. You have athletes, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo's one kind of, if you were to point out a real weakness of Garoppolo, it's, being able to identify that, lurk linebacker, that sinking linebacker who kind of just comes out of nowhere and picks him off. He's had interceptions. He's had potential interceptions against those. When you're in the Green Bay game, you're averaging like 7 yards. That's equivalent to like a pass. Like what do when you look at how much your quarterback throws, average 7 to 8 yards. When you're running the equivalent of what average to above average quarterbacks are throwing, you're not going to take the ball. You're not going to throw it. Yeah. So I look at it like I do think he is, because I don't really think the Kansas City linebackers are that great to begin with. And then when you put them in conflict the way I believe Kyle Shanahan will, I do see Jimmy Garoppolo. People forget that first drive against Minnesota. He went out, he threw the ball, bang, 5 to 6 and a touchdown.
I'll be the first to admit, I think Jimmy Garoppolo's being severely underestimated going into this game.
Yes.
And that's not that I even think he's great.
No.
Because I hear, like, Jimmy apologists, like, oh, he's great. He's the best. And I don't think that. But, like, come on. The dude is being underrated at this point.
Yeah.
They're treating him like Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
They're treating him, let's face it, like Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, and he's not. He's
far from that.
Yes, he's far better.
You
see guys on, like, FS1 talk about, like, the worst quarterback mismatches. And they talked about, like, Young versus Stan Humphries from, I think, the Chargers. Like, no, Jimmy Garoppolo's a lot better. Now, if they don't ask him to do it, then that's one thing. But at the end of the day, when I look at it, I say that he's able to
probably find you one or two Charger fans that might swear by Stan Humphries.
Oh, that's the most outlandish
but
statement.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But you get, even when it's like it's not the biggest mismatch that people think it's going to be.
Not.
So when it comes to the receivers, I just think that they're going to find their space. They're going to create opportunities for Jimmy to throw, and I think he's going to connect with them. For you're going to see 3rd and 7s. He's going to hit Deebo Samuel. He's going to hit Emmanuel Sanders on a play action post route, or a crossing route. I do think he's going to throw the ball more than people think, and he will be effective at that.
I think that Jimmy G is going to also throw the ball a whole lot more than any of these analysts are talking about on TV. I mean, just the element of surprise. I don't think anybody's going to expect that. And eventually, Kansas City, look, they've shown they can shut down a running attack. I mean, they shut down Henry.
Yes.
In the AFC Championship game, and he was on an all-time roll, man. I mean, limiting Derrick Henry to 160 yards would be a win.
Yes.
And they shut him down
like
practically 67 yards
around there, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, they have the ability to do it. Of course, it's a whole different animal in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there's talent on that line. There's talent. These guys can make the plays when they're motivated. We're looking at the wide receivers in the secondary. And look, a lot of these guys in the secondary for Kansas City, like the Honey Badger, Fuller, these guys are risk takers.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can see Jimmy Garoppolo pulling off 1 or 2 big plays over their heads.
Yeah.
Just as much as I could see him throwing a bad pick in this game. It's going to happen. But the bottom line is we're going to see what Jimmy Garoppolo's made of. And these wide receivers, they got to do their best to body up these DBs because I think they're stronger. They're bigger. Let's see if they can do what we're expecting the Frisco defense to do and just really show their dominance as far as the physicality goes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for that. So, in the end, when it comes to wide receivers versus the secondary, just looking at them, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to give Kansas City the slight advantage here.
Yeah.
It just because I'm thinking more in the passing game. When it comes to the wide receivers blocking and stuff, I think that's when I'm going to give it to your run game.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think that because I can see why. I just think that when I look at Kansas City's defensive backs, it'll be funny because I don't know how much they're going to have in a say, in the sense that it's going to be across the middle of the field. And if they're doing drag routes or anything like that, unless you're playing sound technique or you're playing zone, I mean, they're going to either be trailing. So, I mean, I kind of want to give the edge to the Niners as far as their wide receivers against Kansas City defense.
Yeah.
I think
it's close.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you're stupid. If
no.
I mean, that's...
it's going to come down to how they are utilized, how they're deployed, and, how Kansas City defends them.
Yeah, I agree. So then another interesting matchup that you want to kind of look at here in the Super Bowl, I think, is tight ends versus linebackers. So, we're talking about 2 of the best tight ends in the game. Arguably, you're looking at 1 and 2 in the league. A big, topic of discussion this week is who is the best tight end in the league today. Is it Kittle or is it Kelsey?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have thoughts, man.
I think I'm going to say, and look, you can say I'm being a homer biased. That's fine. I'm going to take George Kittle only because this is the rationale I use. It was like, it goes back to our gridiron fights of Ed Reed versus Troy Polamalu.
Right.
Okay. Could Troy Polamalu do a little bit? Could he do what Ed Reed did? Not to the ability Ed Reed did, but could he pick off passes? Could he hunt? Could he lurk? Could he fucking go across the field? Could Troy Polamalu do that? Yes.
Yeah.
Could he stop the run as well? Oh, hell yeah, he could. And that's how I look at George Kittle. Could George Kittle run up a route? Yes. Can he get space and make a catch? Yes. But he blocks better than Kelsey. Yeah. I mean, his ability to block is just it's second level, And so when I look at that, I look at what you need. Like, we'll say this. If you're Bill Belichick and you had to pick one of them, I do think he picks Kittle.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what Kittle can do. Because you have the ability to run, to throw. You can split Kittle out wide. They've done more with Kittle than I think they've done with Kelsey. Kelsey's a great route runner. Kelsey's a better route runner. Kelsey may be a little faster. But, I mean, you've seen that 4th and 2 against the Saints where Kittle's literally running as they're trying to rip his helmet off. Yeah. And he is still bucking and broncoing, trying to get down the field.
Yeah.
And they run reverses with him. They do everything with him.
I'll put it this way. The biggest compliment that I can give to George Kittle is, as a play caller, there's nothing that George Kittle is going to do to limit your play calling. Because he could do whatever you ask him to do on any given play. Run game, passing game. I'm sure if they wanted him to play special teams, he'd be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, exactly. He'll do it all.
That's just him. So because of that, I'm even going to go along and say that George Kittle is the best all-around tight end in the game today. But like you said, I do consider, for Kansas City fans out there that probably want to kick my ass, Kelsey is the best receiving tight end in the league, in my opinion. Still.
Yes.
So that's the thing. But the point that I wanted to make, the bigger point is, it really doesn't fucking matter who the best tight end in the league is today. These two teams are in the Super Bowl, and it matters who is going to win the big game, who's going to be the world champion on Sunday night.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
And I think that this goes to this, is how do you count them out? When you look at Travis Kelce against either, Fred Warner or Quan Alexander. Now, Quan Alexander is a better coverage linebacker. I think if they had their choice, they would probably want to have Quan Alexander on, Travis Kelce. He's a faster, stronger. Fred Warner's a little bit bigger, 6'3", so there might be instances where you can have him maybe kind of shadow him, but they're going to want their best coverage linebacker on him, and I think that assignment will go to Quan Alexander. I think he's going to try to erase him as best he can. Travis Kelce is going to get his,
right?
But I think if you can force, here's the goal: force Mahomes to look elsewhere, because when he's looking at Kelce, more times than not, if the route isn't designed for him, he's one of the last options.
Yeah.
So suffice it to say, if the route or the combination is to look at, Hill, and that's not open, guess what? He's going to look to Travis Kelce. When he's in trouble across the middle of the field, when he has to do those passes where he's backing him, throwing off his back foot, it's Kelce he's looking at.
Right.
And the receivers are long gone. They're 50 yards down the field.
Right.
It's Kelce that's 8 yards, 12 yards that he can get it to. So it's going to be interesting. But I think that even if you were to, here's the thing, if Kelce isn't catching, what else is he doing? If Kittle's not catching and he's running. He's blocking, he's sealing edges, he's opening up holes. So I'm going to call it, I think Kelce versus those linebackers, if I'm being honest, is I'll give maybe the edge to Kelce a little bit.
Yeah. Because
he'll find his, but it'll be close.
Yeah.
Whereas Kittle, it's a little harder because these linebackers have to worry about blocking him.
Right.
I mean, not just blocking, but like they have to worry about him blocking them.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of know. There's a play, it's one of the funniest plays you'll see in the NFC Championship game, where Mike Patton puts the Green Bay safety, I think it's Savage, Darnell Savage, puts him on Kittle, right?
Yeah.
He tells him, it's your job to block Kittle. And he's so scared about what Kittle does that he literally follows Kittle. Well, Kittle's looking to block somebody else. He goes with him. Well, I think it was Mostert runs right past him.
Wow.
That's how much you have to pay attention to what Kittle's doing.
You're preoccupied.
Exactly. I mean, it's embarrassing. Like, he literally has no business looking. And that's the thing. Is like,
see that.
If you're sitting there waiting, okay, we have to stop George Kittle. Oh, I have to look at him. He's out there blocking a linebacker, and you're the safety. Boom. You're not going to pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly on this one, man. I think that Kelce may have an edge on the San Francisco linebacking core. I mean, Kelsey's going to get his. He always does, seemingly. But Kittle, I think, has a bigger edge going up against the Kansas City defense. Because, again, whether or not Jimmy throws the ball only 8 times, it doesn't matter. Kittle is going to impact the game one way or another. Whichever game plan, no matter what play is being called, he's impacting the game.
Yes.
And I think because of that, more consistently, throughout from quarters 1 through 4, you're going to see Kittle make his mark on this Super Bowl a little more than you'll see Kelsey.
Yeah.
So I'd give the tight ends definitely for, I would say San Francisco has the bigger advantage against the opposing defense.
Yeah.
Another matchup, looking at my sheet here, running backs versus the front seven. So San Francisco, man, I mean, their running game is on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Right now, because they can do it seemingly with anybody that's
everywhere
in that backfield. Everybody and anybody that they want to run the rock with.
Yeah.
And, there really hasn't been a front seven that's been able to really force them out of calling the plays that they want to call and running the ball the way they want to run it.
Yeah.
I mean, I see ISO. I see zone. I see
power.
power.
Yeah.
I see everything. I fucking see split backs. And you know what? As big as a San Francisco 49er hater as anybody wants to call me, I give them fucking mad props for running split backs because I love that formation, dude. And you see them make big plays out of split backs. Yes. And I told you that in the beginning of the year. Why doesn't nobody run that?
Yeah.
They probably would be confused. And look, Shanahan's fucking kicking ass with split backs.
If there's a formation, he's going to run out of it. Yes. And split backs works.
It works, You
could do it from under center shot. It's just the ability to do that. What the Niners run game is, it's like Roy Jones in his prime. He's just going to dazzle you with all kinds of things, and then he's going to hit you right in the face because you're worried about everything else. Whereas, Kansas City's run game, and we talk about them for a little bit, theirs is very to throw you off. Theirs is only to break up tempo. That's right. It's just like pass. Oh, you're going to drop 3? Or you're going to, only rush 3, drop 8. We're going to run the ball for a little draw. Oh, there's 12 yards.
Just to keep you honest.
Just to force your linebackers to come back down.
Right.
To have to deal with that. Whereas the Niners, you look at what they're able to do. And there's the play that was the touchdown where they ran this kind of jet sweep where they kind of toss it to Debo. I'm sure everybody's seen it. At a shotgun, they'll kind of flip it to Debo as he's running across the formation. This time, they let him go completely through, flip it to Mostert, and Debo's the lead blocker in that formation.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome. Yeah. There's not a formation. There's not a running play I don't think that they have locked and loaded to use. And I think that's important because they're averaging like 7-8 yards per rush. This is equivalent to like quarterback, throwing, like as far as how much they average.
Yeah.
You'll see a quarterback average 7-8 yards.
They tore up Green Bay.
They dismantled them.
Green Bay looked like a junior varsity football team from high school.
They look completely lost. Yeah. And they had nothing for that. And I think that's the thing is that people like to say, this is the common say for most people facing that running game. Oh, well, you can't be confused by the eye candy. You have to stay disciplined. You can't fall for all the motions and sweeps and just easier said than done.
Right, because I see. Okay, so I saw this play on the all 22, and he ran split backs, and just like I fucking told you in the beginning of the year, like why don't more teams run this? I don't get it because it's funny. Because you see, they do try to adjust to the motions because San Francisco runs motion even in split backs.
Yeah.
And so what's funny is you have your one back on each side, and both are capable runners. And you look at the defense and the offensive line, and you can see sometimes it's like, oh, look, here's the matchup. It's a simple numbers game. It's arithmetic. Like,
yes.
When you see, oh, wait a second.
4 on
4. 4 on 4. There you go. That's the side they're going to, that's the side you hit. It's just they're going to exploit. How do I say it? They're going to exploit your left hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what they do in the running game. And I noticed that because I watched a lot of different plays. And I saw what they did to Green Bay. And it was like, all they did was make sure that Green Bay can only hit them with their left on defense. That's it. They made the Green Bay defense play left-handed.
Yes. And
it was bad.
And you look at what Kansas City, the issue that Kansas City represents for that. Now, Kansas City's, I don't know, they probably have a little more talent on the defensive line, not much more than Green Bay.
I think that they're tougher. I think they're physically and mentally tougher.
I think Chris Jones and Frank Clark.
Yes.
Yeah. Like Chris Jones and Frank Clark are a little more tougher, a little more grittier. I think you won't.
Outlandish.
Oh, well, yeah. When you got Frank Clark saying the 49ers had never seen a defensive end like me, and you kind of step and think, like, I'm sure you played for Seattle for like 4 years.
Right.
So I think they have seen you.
You know, you let shit like that slide.
Yeah, because you're getting crazy.
Right.
You know? But at the end of the day, I think it's about slowing down, making them think. Because I don't have fear of their linebackers, and that's the issue. That is the difference. Because I think about ways that their defense could stop the 49ers offense, and the only game I can think to that would maybe be able to replicate was the first time the Niners played Seattle in San Francisco, where they were able to neutralize it with Clowney, with their but the linebackers are what key. And you know what Kansas City doesn't have? Those type of. They don't have Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. They don't have that beast right there behind them.
Right.
So the ability to kind of get around that defense, to get, to let them rush up, I mean, you knew that game was over against the Packers in the NFC Championship on it's 3rd and 8, and the Niners call like a trap, and he rushes for 30 yards and a touchdown.
Right. That's it.
Yeah, and Frank Clark's not above falling for that.
Over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the running game for the 49ers puts a lot of pressure on the Mike linebacker.
Yes.
To go sideline to sideline. I really did see a lot. I looked at a lot of tape, man, on the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm just looking at, and I'm like thinking, man, this poor middle linebacker doesn't have a shot.
No.
He doesn't have a shot. They're asking him to run 3/4 of the way across the field and catch that back. And usually he's always at least one step behind.
It's because he has to stop and think and worry about the motion and worry about I mean, that one play where they'll run like trap counters and then they'll run outside zone off. It's like the stuff they run is like, I mean, it's some calculus shit. Like, I guess Kyle Shanahan took to heart that loss in the Super Bowl when he was the Falcons.
Must have.
Because he does not throw.
No.
He runs
if
the way.
You don't have to. Why throw?
No, I agree.
And look, that goes back to when I used to defend Troy Aikman in gridiron in our gridiron fights. I'm like, why? Oh, he doesn't have the stats of Steve Young. Well, he didn't have to.
Yeah.
It's like he just has to make sure, hey, if it's a 3rd down, that he's capable, that he could do it, that he did it. And that's it. You know. That's convert. What they're asking. And Jimmy can put himself right up there with Troy Aikman. It's all he's got to do is prove that. So when it comes to the other side, the Kansas City running game, like you said, it's just to keep a defense honest. It's just to prevent the defensive ends from pinning their ears back and rushing straight for Mahomes.
Yeah.
At least make them think that there's a 20% chance of a run on any given play. That's all the running game really for Kansas City is there for. Damian Williams is now like their main back.
Yeah.
Shady McCoy.
I forgot he was there.
I didn't even know he was on. Yeah, I haven't seen him play if he's playing. But I did look up an interesting stat for Damian Williams. So over the last 3 games of the regular season, he has a decent stat line: 216 yards and 5 touchdowns. But again, I'm not expecting him to do anything. And if you're asking me who I give the edge to this matchup, this one's not close.
No.
This one is San Francisco's running game.
This is the biggest gap
in a landslide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a landslide on this one. This is you get 2 points for this one. That's the way I look at this one. But another matchup. Quarterbacks now.
The matchup right here.
The matchup. Quarterbacks versus these teams' defenses. The San Francisco quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, lots of question marks surrounding him, at least in the media, maybe not in San Francisco. But look, man, I think this Kansas City defense right now is a little underrated. They're decently talented. They're not uber talented. My concern with them is more they're a bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
But I think this is a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
You got to be dialed in. I hope Frank Clark is dialed in. I hope Chris Jones is hungry and dialed in. I hope the Honey Badger is dialed in, because when they are, those are 3 of the best defensive players in the league. Anthony Hitchens is an old Cowboy. I think he's a solid, underrated linebacker. He doesn't have a big name, but he erases, plays. He erases big plays. He's done it for years in Dallas. I know he's doing the same thing in Kansas City.
When I look at this matchup, and this is the side that I think will decide their game. Because if the San Francisco 49ers can and Jimmy can throw he can throw and convert, it's harder for me to see them losing this game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when I look at what the problems and what they bring, what kills Jimmy is linebackers. That's his kryptonite. That's his Achilles heel. It is athletic linebackers because when he throws his interceptions, it's in the middle of the field. That's where he works. Now, I like Chris Jones. When I look at Chris Jones, Clark versus our offensive line, I like our offensive line. I think that whenever Jimmy has to throw deep, it'll be off of big play action. There's only 2 guys in the route. And because of the commitment to the play action and the running game, he will have opportunities. I don't think this is a game where Jimmy throws interceptions. Maybe he throws one of the Honey Badger's the only one I think, okay, he could maybe throw one there.
There's the potential to
yeah. But I think this is where it scares me is sacks, strip fumbles, because you have Frank Clark and Chris Jones. That's where I do get nervous.
Chris Jones made a big difference in the Tennessee game.
Yeah, he shut that down. You can't run, but see, that was the difference. Was Tennessee ran right at them.
Yeah.
The Niners aren't going to run right at them. So when I look at what the difference is between what Mahomes has to deal with and what Jimmy has to deal with. Garoppolo, very simple. You're going to end up in some 3rd and 4s, some 3rd and 6s. Penalties, you get a couple penalties, you might have to deal with the 3rd and 10, but at the end of the day, what do you do with that? Are you able to convert on them? Can you get that ball out? I mean, you've seen Jimmy on 3rd and 18 twice, really put it on them. And, it's been one of those things where it's like, you look at what Jimmy can do. Can he convert? And what I think of what Jimmy can do.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
I want to say it for you, dude, because I don't want to seem unfair to San Francisco, because obviously as a Dallas Cowboys fan, it's against my religion. I cannot root for the San Francisco 49ers to win 6.
That's why we have a podcast.
That's right.
It's not called Red and Blue Friendship.
I can't. Yeah. Right.
Red and Blue Rivalry.
I can't. But I want to be fair, and I feel like doing a podcast, my responsibility is to be honest, and and I think that I want to be honest about what I see on the football field, and Jimmy Garoppolo is more than capable of winning this game.
Yes. For
the San Francisco 49ers on offense. He's shown us before. You've seen what he did to New Orleans. You talk about those 3rd and 16s that he made. That's all he needs to do is make those plays. The thing is here it is. Here's where you can shut the haters up forever on 1 3rd and 16 in the Super Bowl, because that's what we remember, not 25 minutes later, 25 years later.
Very true.
So this is it. So we can put it I know that San Francisco, I'm not saying he's incapable. He's capable. But if you want to shut that argument up for next year, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it, Jimmy. This is the time to make a big play, and I'm interested to see if he can make it happen.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be 3rd and, like you said, 3rd and 16. But can he do like what Russell Wilson did when they won their Super Bowl against the Broncos? When they were in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 4, can he convert time after time after time? Because every time he converts on 3rd down, guess what? That's another drive. That's another few minutes that Mahomes has to sit on the sideline and wait.
That's the recipe
yes.
for a win.
Garoppolo's ability to convert on 3rd down in the air is going to be the hidden stat of why they win or lose this game.
Yeah, I would agree. But then when you look at the other side, let's face it. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL today.
This is Hogan Andre right here.
It is. We talked about Russell Wilson being, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object with the San Francisco 49ers defense. But this is the guy right now. Mahomes is the young Hogan or the young Rock or however you want to look at it. Yeah. He's the young guy. And this defense, you guys you guys are young too. It's not like it, but I'm just talking about like your defense has been consistent all season long.
Yes.
I mean, it's been there. It's at the top of the mountain right now.
Yeah.
And which one's going to give?
Yeah.
Which one wants the title?
I'll never forget when people were talking about, Lamar Jackson and all this stuff. And I like Lamar, but if I had a choice, you give me, even back then when Patrick was struggling a little bit, give me Patrick Mahomes because of what I saw, what he can do.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson could do something, but
110%.
I mean, if you told me who I had to have, I probably would take, I would take Patrick Mahomes 10 out of 10 times.
I'm taking Patrick Mahomes over anybody you want to offer me right now.
I mean,
it doesn't matter.
What he can do. I mean, I remember.
And I'll send you a first round draft.
Yeah, exactly. I give you the franchise at this point.
Right.
It's like, because at the end of the, and I'll never forget, this is a little side story. I remember 3 years ago, I would say, watching college football with my nephew late at night. It was ESPN 2, and it was Texas Tech, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks were Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield. And these guys were just flinging the ball. And when the Niners had the second, remember, they had the second overall pick in that draft that Mahomes came out. And I was thinking at the time quarterback, and I would watch Mahomes, and I'm like, if he can handle the complexity of NFL defenses, this dude's like Favre-like, because he had the mobility, he had the arm strength, he had the ability to do all kinds of these crazy things. And so you see it now under like Andy Reid, and it's like, man, it is almost unstoppable.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a team. That's where the Niners have to work as a team, because if one part breaks down, they fall apart. If there's busted coverages in the secondary, it doesn't take but a second or two. There's no way the defensive line can get to him. If the defensive line can't get to him, then they're screwed. If they can't bring him down, the scariest part is him if D Ford misses a sack, or if
he can get away, break a tackle.
Yes,
that's scary.
That is the minute, because I'll know right away that's a completion. It's just how much damage. The minute he gets free and he throws that ball, I'm like, it's a completion. I don't know what's happening on the other side of the field, but it's just how much damage is he about to do to us on that throw.
Yeah.
So,
how confident, though, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you? I mean, this defense should give you all the confidence in the world, but this is Patrick Mahomes. Being honest, man. I mean, come on.
I would say, I'll be honest. I really do. And I'll tell you why. I'll give you the stat why. I feel like an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
It's an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 is high, man.
Yes, it's high for a reason. So I'm going to give you a very simple stat that I have. I'm going to give you Patrick Mahomes stats for 2 games, right? In one game, he is 19 and 32, so under 60%, 182 yards for the whole game, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Second game, 16 to 25, 174 yards.
Not his greatest stat line.
1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Not his greatest stat line.
Those 2 games were against the same team, the Los Angeles Chargers.
And what do the Chargers have that give you confidence that San Francisco can do the same?
They got a Bosa on one end, and they got an edge rusher, a pure speed rusher on the other.
Right.
Yeah, and
makes sense.
They run the same defense. It's a cover 3. There's nuances to it, but it's a cover 3 shell.
Yeah, like the Chargers have the ability to scream off the edge, get that pressure. Like you said, cover 3 schemes. It's just here's the thing though, man. Even the Chargers struggled giving up a few plays though.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at like.
But overall, I see the stats. Kept them in check.
Yeah, You tell me Patrick Mahomes has under 200 yards passing and 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and you look at what the Chargers have now. I think the Niners are the Chargers plus, because I think that the Niners are a little bit better at linebacker than the Chargers.
I'd say a little bit more than a little bit. But,
I think the Niners have when you look at the Niners on the interior of that defensive line with Buckner and Armstead.
Yeah, the interior of the line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the ability, but here's the key. What does Patrick Mahomes love to do? Hold the ball. They compare him to Favre and Aaron Rodgers for a reason. And the reason why the Chargers had so much success with those stats is because guess what? You're playing cover 3. You're backed up. He wants to wait for Tyreek Hill or Hardman or Watkins to break free. Meanwhile, everything is in front, and you have Bosa screaming on one side and Ingram screaming on the other.
Yeah.
And when you look at that, that's what you see.
Yeah.
With the Niners, can you force him to want to hold the ball? Because that's in his DNA.
It is. Yeah, to make a play.
I'm sure when they come out, their first couple of things, they're going to throw screens to kind of slow down the night. I guarantee you, the first time that the Kansas City Chiefs have the ball, you'll see a couple screens. Short pass, because they want to slow down that pass rush. They want to make them think. But as the game goes on, he's going to want to, you see him, he's going to want to hold. He's going to hold. And if the Niners are sound in the secondary and are able to force him to I have to check down, he's not going to want to check down. He's not going to want that 7-yard in route from the tight end. He's going to want that 30-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. If you force him into that mindset and tackle him as soon as you get a hold of him, that's how you end up with those stats.
Yeah. Oh, I don't disagree, man. I don't disagree. To me, dude, Patrick Mahomes, though, let's face it, he was hurt for a good part of this season.
Yes.
I mean, he's hitting form now.
Yeah.
So it's scary because and that's why it's so exciting to watch the Super Bowl. That's why I'm pretty pumped up to watch this matchup, because I think we're going to see the San Francisco 49ers at their very best, with Dee Ford back in the lineup. Yep. Like you said, on both sides being able, as long as they can make that tackle, they can keep Patrick Mahomes in check.
Yes.
But Patrick Mahomes, after the dislocated kneecap that kept him out for 2 weeks.
And I think he was out for. I knew he was out for the Green Bay game.
He was out for 2 weeks, and then he was kind of shaky for another 2 or 3.
I think there was a Tennessee game where he was gimpy.
Right. Yeah. So now, this guy, man, he has the ability to move in and out of the pocket. He can make any throw at any time in a split second, and any point of the field.
Yeah.
That's scary.
When you're able to throw it left-handed for like 8 yards when you're a right-handed quarterback, it's like, oh, God. It is. I remember a game, what was it? His first time starting against the Denver Broncos, where Von Miller has him dead to rights. And it's Von Miller. It's not, Joe Schmo at the end, and he just couldn't get to him. He could not get over and over and over and over. Now, he didn't have a running mate on the other side, and that's where you hope things will be better.
Things are different.
But when I look at the ability to keep him in the pocket, don't let him break containment. If you're the Niners, here's the thing. Here's the way you do it, because they're going to throw and throw. If anything short, you wrap up and hit. And the Niners are one of the best tackling secondaries in the league. You look at K'Wan Williams. You look at some of the plays early on when they played Green Bay and they just broke free and boom, they tackled on screens, short passes, you bring them down. And you force it in a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12. And then all of a sudden, Patrick Mahomes doesn't want 12 yards. It's just you could tell he's not wired that way.
Yeah, no, he's
what
not.
makes him great is what makes him vulnerable.
Right, your biggest strength is your biggest weakness.
Exactly, and if you can.
But here's the thing: that offense, man, it goes hand in hand. Tyreek Hill, Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce. There's weapons all over. I think look, dude. I'm telling you, San Francisco is the best defense in the league today. Yeah. They fucking hit, man. Yeah. I fucking respect the way they hit.
Everybody hits.
I wish, what's crazy? It's just to get a little bit of blue on this podcast. I really, truly do, deep in my heart, feel like they're not too much. How can I say it? I feel like the San Francisco 49ers are only a little bit more talented than the Cowboys are on defense. Uh-huh. But you guys fucking tackle.
Yeah, it's a mindset.
That's the difference. Yeah. It's a mindset. It's just that you guys play sound defense. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And so I give you all the props in the world. Salah's got them playing solid.
Yep.
They tackle, keep the ball in front of them, make the tackles. But that's, like you said, it's easier said than done when you got a matchup nightmare like Kelce. When you have a big play, just think about it schematically for a second. Just let's play some Madden. Mm-hmm. What did I love, dude? I love my Witten out. Why did I love my Witten out? Because I had a dangerous wide receiver on that field. You cannot double team them both.
No.
In zone.
No.
You can't. You guys do not want to play man.
No.
At all in this game if you don't have to. And you need to pick your spots carefully there.
Yeah.
So throughout the majority of this game, it's going to be hard if they get smart and play Kelce on the same side as Tyreek Hill. Because it's going to be tough. That's tough. That defense needs to get there.
Yeah. Fast. And here's another thing. Don't be surprised on those 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 12s if they do play man and they blitz. I
think they may have to. I think that's smart.
Yeah, because I think a lot the thought is that the Niners they don't have to bring pressure because they can do it with their front force. They don't have to bring extra people. They blitz. They do bring people. They brought corner blitz to Aaron Rodgers. They'll send the safety. They'll send the linebackers. When it's 3rd and 12, you're so worried about everybody else. You still have speed. That's the thing, is the speed on this defense is really underrated.
It is.
And you have guys who can go. So I do expect 3rd.
But you're not going to beat them in a speed contest. You're going to beat them by knocking the shit out of them.
No.
That's what I think.
No, I agree. But I think you have to use it. It has to be timed right.
Right.
When they need an extra second, can you bring an extra second of speed?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, okay, normally, let's say the Niners can get there in 2 seconds. Well, can you bring an extra bit of speed? Because they'll need 3. You can bring it in 1. Can you bring the pressure in 1 second? If they need 5 seconds, can you blitz and bring it in 4? Because the minute you do that, if you hit them, guess what? It's 3 and out, 3 and out. And here's another thing that we talk about. Their defense is going to get worn if you know Mahomes is going 3 and out, or if they're only getting 1 first down and they're having to turn it over, and now that defense has to go back out and handle the more, because they're not physical team like the way the Niners are. I think that's not being they're not even close. They're not even close. So if that defense has to be hit over and over and over and over again, they're gonna break. They'll break quicker than the Niners defense. They just don't have the talent or the speed that the Niners do. The Niners will give up bombs.
Or the consistency.
Yeah. The Niners may go Mahomes may go 5 plays, bang. But guess what? They're not tired. They're just like pissed.
Yeah.
But they're not getting run on and run on and run on. You know, smashed by freaking Juszczyk, smashed by Kittle. So, you know, to me, because of the level of the defense, I mean, it's about as dead even as you can get as far as their defense, how Garoppolo matches against Kansas City's defense and how Mahomes matches against the Niners defense. Mahomes is. I mean, that's why we didn't do quarterback to quarterback, because it's not really a comparison.
Garoppolo's not guarding.
No.
Mahomes.
And Garoppolo's not having to face D Ford and DeForest. Right. They're not facing the same defense.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so you really can't think that.
That's a good point, dude. I mean, that's a great point. And I think you're right when you think of it like that, even.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yes, because they're not the defense the Niners are. They're almost mirror images in that sense.
Yeah.
Where like you look at Garoppolo's opportunistic, takes advantage of things, and when he's on, he's deadly. That's the Kansas City defense.
Yeah, it's true.
Mahomes is otherworldly,
opportunistic.
Amazing, can do amazing. That's the 49ers defense.
Yeah.
So it's the great against the great, and the above average against the above average. Opportunistic versus opportunistic. So when you look at that, I mean, it feels like it's dead even. It's where you find the matchups and the advantages.
I want to submit an X factor that not everybody's talking about. I don't see a lot of this talk on FS1 or ESPN. Patrick Mahomes, here's an interesting stat that I looked up. Patrick Mahomes was sacked just 17 times this season.
Yes.
That's for as much as he throws?
Well, yeah, it's hard to get him to the ground.
Yeah, exactly. That puts pressure on a defense. You know, only 17 sacks when the guy is throwing 35, 40 times a game. That's amazing. And then you look at it in comparison. Jimmy G was sacked 36 times, and he's in a run-first offense. Yeah. So that offensive line has held up for Kansas City, and Mahomes has proven that even when I've seen the pressure get by those tackles on a few plays, and he shakes off a defender.
Yeah. No, that's
the worry. It's hard to sack him.
It is. I think with Jimmy, you've looked at the sacks he takes. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. The sacks you look, I would love to be interested to see the sacks at the beginning of the season versus the sacks at the end.
Yeah.
And like, you know, because he was coming off of an ACL, you know, and he was still kind of being integrated into this offense. I mean, this is his first real year in this offense. Yeah. You know, so, and this offense is not easy. You know, it took a guy like, you know, Matt Ryan a whole year to kind of get this.
It's tough to have to hand up the ball to the running back every play.
Hey, man, the beginning of the year. Hey, you know, but he did it great, didn't he?
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Hey, dude, don't matter that one.
But 13-3, it's okay.
It's all that mattered, right? Doesn't say what his stats are on his Super Bowl ring, will it?
It won't.
It won't, right? That's what I thought. I think people look at it like every time I hear things.
You have it easy if you have to ever do a certain promise I said that I'd do for Romo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I won't die.
Yeah.
But I look at it like this because I see in the comments that, the moment's going to be too big for Jimmy.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, here's my question. Why is the moment too big for Jimmy and not Patrick Mahomes? Has either one of them been to the Super Bowl?
No.
Okay. So why is one bigger for the other?
I have no idea.
Why is the moment too big for Jimmy and not Patrick?
I think, and again, it doesn't answer your question, but if you're asking me why I think that narrative is out there, I would only say that it's because they figure that Kansas City, if you can take away that running game, like Garoppolo just hasn't like put a team on his back yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas Mahomes, hey, dude, the Chiefs, let's fucking face it, they live and die with Patrick Mahomes. They don't. The San Francisco 49ers don't live and die with Jimmy Garoppolo. But I still disagree with that logic, because what does that mean? Why does that make more pressure on him?
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, it's less, if anything.
Exactly. Because how is it like Jimmy? And let's look at the thing. You say you're a Cowboys fan. What did you tell me during the season was one of the hardest things to do in the NFL? Was go where and play who?
Oh, New Orleans.
In
New Orleans.
And what did he do there?
He made a couple of big plays, shredded their defense.
He threw for over 300 yards.
Yeah.
And he lit them up.
Right.
3rd and 16, when the Rams needed their win, when the Rams were playing for their playoff live, 3rd and 16.
We kind of took care of that for you guys first.
Wow, we put the death nail. You gave them but it was 3rd and 16, and we needed that.
Yeah.
That was a big game for the Niners. Remember,
tied.
Tied.
Yeah. Right, with Seattle.
It was, and this was the game, when you look at this game, it was, they went into Levi, and that was the best the Rams had played. They came off that loss to Dallas. If they lose there, they're done. You know, they had a shot to still make the playoffs. It was a long shot, but 3rd and 16, Jimmy Garoppolo pass. 3rd and 16, Jimmy Garoppolo bomb.
He's done it.
You know, so I never get this notion. It's like, I don't think the moment is the only time I've ever seen, I think we both agree this, the only time I've ever seen the moment get to him was the overtime game against Seattle.
Yeah.
Where he looked shaky.
And you know, people gave me shit saying I was a hater, but I saw it.
Yeah,
I saw what I saw.
He looked shaky, and that's. But time and time after that, he's answered the call over and over.
He did. He definitely did.
He went toe for toe against Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I think what was more impressive is what he did in New Orleans.
Yeah,
because that was the exact opposite of what went down in Seattle. So who's to say? The last thing that we want to talk about is coaching.
Yes.
And the only point that I really want to put on the coaching talks here is Andy Reid is known for what Kyle Shanahan is quickly becoming famous for, and that's scheming guys open. You know, I think a lot of people, especially 49ers fans, would like to say they have the advantage right now. But, you know, just don't sleep on Andy Reid. He's not the big marquee name. He's not the hot, sexy new coach. But he's been there. He's done it for a long time. And, look, he previously made a Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb, Thrash, Pinkston, Freddie Mitchell.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
They had T.O. too.
Well, not during that playoff run.
No.
But, you know, and now you have Mahomes and Tyreek Hill.
When I look at it like this.
Kelsey, and you think, wow, what can he do with these guys?
I mean, he's shown.
Yeah. You know,
they've gone to the AFC Championship game twice. I take nothing away from Andy Reid. Nothing. And in fact, other than Belichick, he's the one coach, like, he's earned the right to be, to you know, say that you're right under Belichick. Where it's interesting is the difference is how the games end, because I think they're both similar. They both script their plays. They both have their, you know, their first 50. It comes from the Bill Walsh, script your first 25, script your first 20, where at the end of the day, you know, it's not how they're going to start the game, because I think they'll both be prepared. I don't think the game plans are going to be what it's going to be the execution on the field. Who's nervous more, you know?
Especially early on.
Exactly. The question comes into who handles the game late, and that's always been the knock on Andy Reid. End of the game, how he handles it with his play calling, with his coaching. That's, you know.
And we know Shanahan's never had any problems in the second half of a Super Bowl.
Well, no, that's the big question. That's why you say they're the same. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But hey, he learned his lesson, right?
I mean, it looks like it.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
I promise you, if they're up 28-3, Jimmy ain't throwing anymore.
Yeah.
I will guarantee Jimmy throwing 2 at 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Or he'll just, you know, that'll be it, you know, because they will run the ball. And he talked about this. I don't know if you heard that when Jimmy threw that pick, he got flashbacks of that fucking Atlanta game, and he's like, nah, no mas. And he just ran the ball.
Which is smart.
Which is what I think the difference is that Shanahan went and learned how to create a complex running game. Everyone wants to create these complex passing games, right? These, you know, guys are running wide open. He created a complex running game, you know, and that's when it comes down to the reason I'll give him the slight edge and
51-49.
I mean, 49 and a half, 51, like 50, like barely, is because the scheme that he drew up can close out games.
Yeah.
The talent that Kansas City has can close out games.
Right.
That's they have the talent to close out games. But if it's close and let's say Mahomes is having an off game, or let's say it's also, can he, let's say they're down by 2 touchdowns at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Does he have the scheme to get back in the game?
Yeah. I mean, that's something that we'll see. That's going to be what we're all watching for on Sunday, man. So, that it's a good question. Do you think Kansas City can actually really, I don't even want to say shut down, but like keep the Niners run game under control after seeing what they did to Henry?
It's different. That's like,
it's a different beast without a doubt. Like I said, Henry wasn't running out of split backs.
No,
he wasn't.
It wasn't just that. Like, there was no motion. Okay, it was who had the ball.
Right.
It was Henry. Mostert, Tevin Coleman.
Is he gonna play?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Coleman.
Separated shoulder, right?
He had it but nothing. I guess because he's been limited in practice, but it sounds like he's gonna play.
Okay.
So you have the ability to go Mostert, Coleman, Breida,
change of pace.
Debo Samuel catches jet sweeps.
Yeah.
It's not, and then they ran right at him.
Yeah.
You're not going to run right at him. And what allowed Kansas City to neutralize that Tennessee offense was right off the ball. They don't have nothing to think about. It's right off the ball. Boom. You're going to hit him.
Yeah.
Whereas like, oh, dude, that guy's coming across.
It's gonna be a key is how quick can Hitchens make that read on the running back and what direction the ball's going.
And I mean, you've had great linebackers. It slows down many linebackers,
Yeah.
So I don't think, will they rush for, like, will they do what they did at Green Bay? No. But
no,
I think,
no.
but okay, let's look at it like this.
I mean, I think they have, they're going for 100, man.
Could they do that? Could they do what they did against Minnesota? Yes.
Yeah.
Because Minnesota, talent-wise, I think Minnesota's better.
Minnesota's better.
Yeah.
Oh,
and they made Kendricks and Barr think.
Yeah.
If you can make Kendricks and
Barr, freeze them for half a second.
Yeah,
that's all you need. One step you need.
And all we talk about when speed is what we talk about. The Kansas City wide receivers. Right. Dude. Yeah. The freaking 49ers running backs are fast. We're talking about 4.3 fast, 4.2
no,
fast.
Breida's fucking fast.
Okay, they're some of the fastest. Mostert was a track star at Purdue.
No, Mostert's quick too.
So their speed is they have speed.
Mostert hits the outside quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed
there's a little bit of
about straight lines. I mean, he's fast. Like, don't get me wrong, he's fucking fast. But like, I noticed he has the ability to get to the sideline like quick, dude. Like,
and he has that
turn
like
that corner.
Boom, he's gone.
Yeah.
Whereas I think like Breida can do it inside, and then Coleman's kind of like as fast as he is, he's more of your power back. He can kind of take a little crease and go into the line and get some. So I just don't see Kansas City really stopping them. I think that it's like if they get over 160, if they get to 180 yards rushing, people said, the key is to make Garoppolo throw 8 passes. I hope Garoppolo throws 8. If Garoppolo throws 8 passes, that means that running game's working.
Right.
Because if he's throwing more, it means it's not working. Yeah. So if he's only throwing for 8 passes, it's because we're getting 7-8 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to be the key for that one, is how that goes.
Yeah. So let's wrap this thing up, man. Let's get to the bottom dollar, man.
Yeah. Who wins?
Predictions. Who wins? I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I have no reason to think that. I think, again, I've said all along, I think this game's a pick'em. I have no reason to think that either of these teams can't pull it off. Great seasons, no matter what happens for both these teams. Got Niner fans. Friends has Niner fans. I got friends as Kansas City Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. As a Cowboys fan, long time, I can't let San Francisco get 6, but that doesn't mean that they're not. So
yeah.
I think that San Francisco is the most consistent team out of the two. I think Kansas City has caught fire towards the end of the year, and yet it's a credit to San Francisco that as hot as Patrick Mahomes is and as much as the defense has improved throughout the course of the season, that I still think San Francisco's a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that's a credit to San Francisco. With all that being said, my heart wants to weigh in on this a little bit. And I'm going to say that in the end, my heart thinks it can kind of, hang its hat on Patrick Mahomes being the best and taking over the game late. I can see a struggle. I can see the 49ers defense keeping Mahomes in check for the first half. You got to think about a little bit of rust. You got to think about being nervous. I remember Troy Aikman saying in his first Super Bowl, he threw a pass 5 yards off target too high, because it was a Super Bowl. And so I think that's going to happen for both these teams. I can see. I don't think this game is going to be as much of a shootout, especially in the early parts of this game. I think it's going to be a round one in a heavyweight fight.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of filling out in the first quarter, or at least the first half of the first quarter. So with all that, I expect Mahomes to figure out the defense, pull one out of his ass. I'm going to go Kansas City 26, San Francisco 24.
Damn, that's a good game.
It's a great game.
But you know what we say? I'm tired of being part of great games where you lose. It's not fun.
No.
It's not. It's like, oh, that was a great game. And then you're like, yeah, but we lost. It's never fun.
Right.
Is this going to be a close game? Yes. But when I look at this game, I don't see a big advantage for Kansas City I see a lot of close advantages. Right. But when I look at the biggest advantage is the 49ers run game versus that Kansas City defense. And I do think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to do what he needs to do. He is going to convert on third down. He's going to, extend plays because he can move. He's not, completely immobile. We're not talking about Drew Bledsoe back there.
No.
He has the ability to, exactly. He can run for a couple first downs if it's 3rd and 4 and everyone's committed to the pass.
Yeah.
So I do believe he's going to be the key to this game. And I think that he's going to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
And I do think,
that's when they're going to need to. Yeah.
But I do think you're going to see runs, and it's going to be the story of the game is when the Kansas City makes their run, can the Niners offense give their defense enough rest?
Yeah.
Can they slow, you know what? Yeah, Kansas City just went and scored, 10 points in 2 drives.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's tied, or the Niners are only up 3, whatever. Can he take that ball and say, okay, we're going to go down the field on them. We're going to take 6 minutes off this clock so that by the time we get back up, our defense is ready to just look for a 3 and out.
Right.
And I do think that the Niners are going to be able to. I think our running game is top notch. I think Kittle is going to show out in both the pass and the running games. I think Garoppolo is going to be – this is the game where everyone's just is done with this narrative.
Yeah.
This is going to be it. How I know it's going to be it?
In history forever.
Because he's going to be the Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Bold prediction.
Because I think he's going to throw for touchdowns. I think he's going to move the chains. And if it's close, they're going to give it to the quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be like
Trent Dilfer. Would have to get 5 sacks.
Yeah.
Really.
So I do think Garoppolo walks away with the MVP. I think he throws for like at least 300 yards. I really do think they take advantage of play action and they put those linebackers in stress. That's the key because that's where they're going to work. I think they try to make sure that, Honey Badger is not within that play where he can't make a play. They make sure he's isolated on something that's not even an option. But they'll throw decoys at him.
Yeah.
And I think on defense, the big matchup, I think you're going to see them get to him they're going to get to Patrick Mahomes in a way that no one else is. Because when we talked about the Chargers, the one thing that the Chargers didn't have that the Niners do is interior pressure.
Yeah.
They don't have a Buckner or an Armstead in the interior to just destroy guards.
Yeah.
So when I look at it, I look at the Niners winning, and I think they win 34-27.
Yeah, that's another good game.
Yes.
A little bit higher scoring than I think, but it's there. You're going to take the over then, I guess.
Yes, I am.
I'm taking the under on that one. I mean, either way, man, it should be a good game. We'll have a lot to talk about and wrap up, man. So before I head on out of here, dude, you got any money riding on the game?
I had 20 bones.
20 bones?
Yeah, I had $20.
I wouldn't bet if I were you because I feel like I would jinx.
So let me tell you just a quick story. So I had a guy at my work, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to bet me $100. He tried to bet me against the Redskins. He's like, I'll take the Redskins. And I didn't want.
Wow.
I don't know why. $100 on the Redskins. I didn't want to take his money, so I was like, nah, no. So then he just kept gnawing at me to the point where I was like, fine, $100 the next game. It was the Green Bay game.
Oh, wow.
So I won me a cool 100.
Yeah.
He looked at me, double or nothing. I go, okay. I go, what game? He's like, the Saints. I was like, screw it. Because in my thought, I'm like, well, I mean, I didn't have to waste any money.
Right.
So I walked. End of stories. He owed me $200.
Okay.
So every time I bet on them, they won.
Yeah.
So he walked up to me, and goes $20. He learned his lesson. He was betting hundreds, and it must have burned him.
Yeah.
He's like $20 on the Niners.
So the Niners are gonna make you $220.
Yes.
You're hoping by the end of the year.
Yes.
Hey, not a bad.
And
deal.
I'm very like you. I don't like betting on my team, but it was just to the point where I need this guy to shut up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. That's funny, man. I think I'm gonna put 200 bones down with a friend.
Yeah.
That Kansas City will take it.
Oh wow.
I don't know.
That's
what I'm feeling, but I guess I'm on the record now.
Yeah.
So that's that. So that's the Super Bowl, man. But real quick, just a minute. Yeah. We'll wrap up the Super Bowl next week. The Pro Bowl was a joke. I don't want to talk about that. But we'll wrap up the Super Bowl next week. We will review, what we've seen, whether it's a 49ers victory or a Kansas City Chiefs victory. I know quite a few Kansas City fans. I know quite a few San Francisco 49er fans. It should be interesting. I think it's a great game. And really, I just can't wait for Sunday, man. But one thing that I do want to talk about, and that we're going to kind of just totally switch focus here from football to basketball. But I think, man, that there he is. I think that real quick before I sign off on out of here, just to switch focus from football to basketball for a second, I think we got to do justice to Kobe Bryant, man.
Oh, yeah.
I think we got to talk a little Kobe, just a couple of minutes here. I went to the Staples Center to LA Live on Monday. I signed, put my placazo right there for Kobe. I did.
That's what's up, dude. Yeah.
And here's the thing, man. I rooted against Kobe. I cursed the man. I cursed the player. I should say that. I cursed the player. The player that won 8, that wore 24, the 5 Super Bowls, the 5 championships. The story goes is that for me, he was drafted as the last and final lottery pick. I think it was 13th overall in the draft by the Charlotte Hornets, who were my favorite team. Yeah. And he basically spurned them and said, "Fuck you guys, I'm not playing for you guys. I want to play for the Lakers or nobody." And engineered a trade to get him to LA where he wanted to be. And I despised him for that. Yeah. But here's the thing. Like I said, he was last of a dying breed. He was a true competitor. Yeah. As hard as I rooted for him, he made the game fun to watch. Yeah. He was the Darth Vader to my Star Wars. Yeah. And as we all know, Darth Vader's a legend in Star Wars.
Yes, so he is.
That's Kobe Bryant, man. That's the way I'm going to see him.
It's almost similar in the sense that, I grew up a Celtics fan. Yeah. So that's just bitter rivalry right there. And he hated him with the passion. And it was so great. This is how great he was. I'll never forget when the Celtics beat him that first time. Yeah. And getting a text from my uncle, who's a Celtics fan, who's a reason. And that's when the Lakers are getting smashed. They were down by 20-something points. There was
we were drinking Mad Dog 2020.
Yes. That was a rough night.
Cigarettes, cigars, and
all of the above.
Anything. Yeah.
But I remember it was over. And my uncle texted me, "Do you think he can bring him back?" That's how much fear we still had of Kobe Bryant. That even when you're up 20-something points with 7 minutes left, you still weren't sure it was over because of what he could do.
The determination he had to win. He fought until the very last second. He competed until the very last second.
And he went and went and went. I'm going to be honest. I got into basketball pretty late. So, he's probably the best player I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes. Yeah. I didn't see Jordan in his
LeBron.
Yes, better than LeBron.
I think he's better than LeBron.
Yes.
I think it's silly that we compare this Jordan to LeBron when the much better argument all along has been Jordan to Kobe, because Kobe had the work ethic. Kobe had the determination. I know that it's kind of like we make fun of people that say this, but he did have that killer instinct.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a little bit of like, I'll be honest, there's a little bit of Larry Bird and Kobe Bryant.
Right, that's the thing. He's the last of a dying breed.
Because he would talk smack on the thing.
Right.
Like that's Larry Bird right there.
Right.
Like that's like,
He'd
oh yeah,
get
I'm
into
gonna
a
talk
fight if he had to.
Exactly.
You know, it's all in the name of winning.
Exactly. I mean, he liked Shaq, and you saw the shit he talked to Shaq, called him a fat ass and stuff like that, getting his shape, all this stuff. It didn't matter because he was singularly focused in his goal to be the best.
Right.
And you can't help, especially as you get older and you kind of see this, the way sports are now in your own life is
especially in the NBA.
Oh yeah, where that is just different than everybody else. That's a different mentality. And you know, there was this. I follow a lot of the Celtics on Twitter, and one of the announcers said, you know, we thought Kobe was done breaking our heart a year ago or a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I guess it's not true because a lot of Celtics, you would see it. You go to Celtics, they loved him. They hated him, but they loved him. They cheered him when he was introduced in his last game at the Garden, where because he was this player that, like you said, if you're a fan of teams like the Celtics, and you naturally think back to old teams, to the 80s, the early 90s, and Kobe would have fit right in there. Yeah. Kobe would have been right there with all of them.
Kobe can play in any era.
Yeah.
For me, man, it's funny because when I was on my way on Monday, so I jump in the car, and my friend Caesar tells everybody in the car, man, this motherfucker hated Kobe on the car. I was like, wow. I'm like, oh, this not. Did I jump into the wrong car? But even he said, he goes, but you know what? I invited him because I knew that he respected Kobe's game. I knew he loves the game of basketball, and he knows how important Kobe was to the game of ball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but on the buses here, it says R.I.P. Kobe.
Yeah.
You know?
In L.A. I mean, L.A., if you see the pictures, I'm so proud of that picture I took with the 24. Did you see that on my Twitter?
Yeah.
That was a nice picture, man. I had to climb to the top of the MTA to get it, you know, but I did it, you know.
You did it. It looks nice.
It was cool, man. But yeah, dude, Kobe... Totally.
And you got to see him grow up. He spent 20 years here. I mean, you see the youth, and you could tell, like, I mean, and you see him mature because, you can easily be turned off by the way he acted at the beginning, but you saw how he grew.
Right.
He never lost that edge, but he gained maturity. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And his abilities, they're second to none of all the ones I've seen. And like I said, being a Celtics fan, I was like, oh, God, having to face him because you knew, and if you beat him for a championship, it made it all that much better because you had to go through such a great player in a sport where a great player can decide a series.
Oh yeah, that's it's crazy. And again, too, like the one thing I wanted to say is that when he scored 61 in his last 60 or 60? Yeah, 60 on the last game. I called Caesar because he knows how much I used to talk so much shit. We used to go to Hornets, Laker games, at the Staples Center after work. Up and go watch a game, and I called them. I go, hey, you know what, man? It's a great day and a sad day at the same time for basketball because, like, who am I gonna root against? Yeah, like this guy made basketball fun, and to be honest, I haven't been as much into basketball since he retired, and that's something that it's sad to say, but I really didn't realize it until he passed.
It's one of those things where you don't realize until he's gone. Yeah, and just the
reflection.
Of him. And I remember you're the one who told me. You texted me that, and I went on Twitter and I found it. And I think about 20-30 minutes later, it was broadcasted around the news, and I was sad. I mean, my uncle, who's a Lakers fan, diehard. I mean, I went to see him, and he had tears in his eyes. It hurt because of what he meant to a city. Even if you weren't a Lakers fan, if you just were a fan of just him or just perseverance or what he stood for, you couldn't help but admire that and what he did for LA. You see him talking in Spanish. We're in LA. It's a huge Mexican culture.
There's a reason why Angelinos were not having any LeBron murals.
No,
last year, right?
No.
I mean, it's because Kobe. They respected Kobe. Kobe is the one that earned that in their eyes.
I mean, you win 5. I mean, he matches Magic.
I think it's always 1 and 2 or 1A, 1B when you think of greatest Laker of all time. I think of either Magic or Kobe. Yeah. To be honest. I think after he retired and the way he went out and now with this passing, I think it's hard not to say that he's not number one.
The greatest Laker? Yeah. That's kind of hard. I mean, I love Magic, but...
Yeah.
I mean, it just feels like, and it's hard because that's what I grew up seeing was him just lighting dudes up, you know, and he had his demons. He had his as far as professionally losing to the Pistons when they were the Super Lakers and kind of being
take a little joy in that.
Yeah. You know, watching him kind of fail.
Right.
I mean, people don't forget.
Like he's like Rocky, dude. He doesn't stay down.
I mean, he had a horrible shooting thing. Right. He broke. That was the mentality. I remember this being back in those days.
Mamba mentality.
Yeah, he like the Lakers were gone after that. Shaq was gone. Like they were not, and he stood by. And then there were times where he didn't know if he wanted to be here, and he stuck through it. And Jim Buss and you know Jerry Buss kind of pulled him aside and said, "We got this here. Give us time. Have faith." You know, and he did, and they were bound and reload, and he had just a great second career. You know.
Yeah, he did. No, and I think look, last thing I want to say for Kobe. This is more off the court than on the court. I don't think the loss was so much, and not to say that it's not a loss, but I don't think the biggest loss, I mean, was so much like, you know, everybody's talking about Kobe's second career. He already accomplished a lot in just the 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like that was a loss because he did a whole hell of a lot more than most people do their whole lives.
Yeah.
In those 3 years.
He was
and he did
films,
a whole
right?
hell of a lot. Yeah. And he did a whole hell of a lot more during his career. He's one of the greatest of all time.
And you see,
he's on Mount Rushmore, dude.
Oh yeah.
And he made it. So what really makes me sad, it really hurts me, you know, being a father too of a daughter, is Gigi.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Here's the loss though. Of course she's 13. She barely grew. We know that, and it's totally sad. But here's the loss that I don't think it's hit the rest of the world yet. That I'm starting to think of. You know who I think this is going to hurt the most going forward?
Who?
The WNBA.
Oh, yeah, that was
Put Gigi Bryant in the WNBA and it starts to sell tickets. It starts to create buzz. Little girls all around the country want to play in the WNBA. They want to be like Gigi Bryant. And with Kobe there supporting her, with the love that he has in LA, what that wouldn't bring to the Sparks.
Oh, yeah.
What it wouldn't bring.
We knew she was going to be a Spark,
right,
too.
Yeah. Oh, she's going to the Sparks.
Yeah. She would have went to the Sparks.
The Hornets will draft her and she'll demand her way. It'll be all over again, and my daughter will get to watch that, and my daughter will have someone to cheer for or root against.
Yeah,
and I think that's the biggest loss, man.
You know,
because Kobe handled his shit. He handled his business in life,
and I think they said that she had the most of his mentality. I don't know if you heard the story of when he would take his daughter around, and people would sit there and say, "You need to have a boy. You need to carry on that," and she's like, "Nah, I got this.
I got it."
That tells you right off the bat when you're a 10-year-old girl saying, "I got my dad's mentality." Kobe. You knew that she was destined for greatness. You know. In basketball, and the reason why they were in the crash, unfortunately, was the Holocaust. That's how he traveled, because he had that mentality, that work ethic, and she was right there with him. You know, so I do agree. I mean, it does hurt, and you know, what you do is your heart goes out to the family. I mean, to their mother. Imagine. She lost a husband and a daughter.
I can't imagine.
You know, and you know them, and you know, Kobe's playing 1-on-1 up there. You know, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to give God competition.
Yeah, at this point. Oh, he's not passing to God.
Yeah, no,
he's not.
No,
God's out in the wing waiting. And yeah, Kobe's not, you know.
I got this. Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. So just wanted to hit that up, man. So I think, you know, no matter which way the ball falls on Super Bowl Sunday, me and you are going to have a lot to talk about next week.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully you're still alive.
Maybe.
Hopefully, possibly. You know, if not, I might do it solo.
Yes. You know, can you give me a memoriam?
Yeah, give me a memoriam. And you know what? It might be worse if they win. You may never show back up again if the 49ers win. You might find me 5 years later. We may be doing it remote from Vegas, me trying to find you.
Yes.
So it's fun, man. So that's about it, man. So let's sign off here. This is the Red and Blue Rivalry Podcast. Thank you guys for peeping this out. And we'll hit you guys back up one more time this season.
Yep.
And wrap up the Super Bowl. Peace out.
Late.